Going on, everyone? John Matrix here. Hope you're having yourselves a wonderful day as we're on Shadow of the Erdtree DLC Eve, if that's something you care about, which I do. So I'm excited for the DLC coming out tomorrow. But that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we're here to talk about today is orcs. We're getting back into the 40k universe, and we're going to take a look at a video by the Scholar's Lore, the Ork Meks 40k lore. This one has been requested by one of my YouTube members, so we're going to check it out here today. So yeah, as always, links down below in the description to the Scholar's Lore channel and to the original video of his without my commentary and reaction. If you would do me a favor, click those links, check out his content. He makes a lot of great 40k content. And if you like this video of his, go over there and give his video a like and give the man some support. As you can see, we are doing this reaction live. We're doing it live. If you would like to come in and hang out while we're doing these live reactions, we would love to have you guys in here joining the discussions that we have. Regardless of just doing that, there's also other benefits of being able to get videos up to a week early. There's a sub Discord channel, etc, etc. So there's a join button down below. If you would like to, you can click that, see if any of the member benefits have any interest for you. Regardless, I just appreciate you guys checking out the videos, taking the times out of your busy day. Means a lot. Greatly appreciate it. Let's jump into this here video. Again, this is the Ork Meks 40k lore by the Scholar's Lore. Boop. Boop.
When one goes to war with the green-skinned armies of the orcs, one of the most noticeable and fearsome aspects of
it's not red. This guy's not fast enough. What are you doing here, brother? It's not red.
Facing against the horde will be the sight of thousands of ramshackle oil-belching vehicles, rusted fighter jets, and gigantic walking mechanical contraptions. In addition, the vast array of odd and bulky weaponry is truly bewildering, especially when you bear witness to the continuous streams of red-hot lead and arcing missiles, which continuously sputter out from their brutish barrels. Now, it does not take a genius to work out that many orcs are rather intellectually challenged. So it poses an important question. Who builds these terrible constructions for them? Well, the answer to this is rather simple, and it would be the mech boys.
The mech boys.
These mechs, sometimes known as mechaniacs, or to the feral orc tribes as boiler boys, are responsible for all aspects of building orky contraptions. They seem to be blessed with a natural gift for engineering and appear to display a ravenous interest towards inventing, constructing, maintaining, and tinkering with their mechanical tools.
No, I wonder, they were created by the old ones, they were like Krorks or however it's pronounced beforehand, and it kind of de-evolved into orcs from what they were before, but there's also evidence that they could re-evolve back into what they originally were created as these, much bigger, stronger, more intelligent, and insane fighting machines. But I wonder, since there's a certain number in their population that have a proclivity to, tinkering and technological stuff, I wonder if it's like a genetic thing. You know what I mean? Is it something that gets passed down generationally? You have like a mech boss who's, maybe not even a boss, but just an orc guy that's, a tinkerer. And then, I guess offspring doesn't work the same as us though with them, right? Because they're kind of basically like a fungus and they just kind of multiply in weird ways. So I don't know. I'm just curious how is there some kind of genetic or hereditary thing or whatever that they take, or is it just some kind of random thing that when the orcs get to a certain age or something like that, some of them are just yeah, I like to build stuff. Rawr. I'm a builder. I don't know how that works.
One might even begin to wonder how it is that an orc could ever have mastered the skills of engineering.
And it is true, it's for how unintelligent they are, it's strange that they can make some, some of the advanced stuff they have, spaceships and these giant, space Hulk things. like moon-sized, kind of like Death Star orc, you know, ships or whatever. So I wonder if it's some kind of like subconscious or innate, you know, knowledge that is, you know, like tied into their creation from the old ones, that they just kind of know how to do this subconsciously, and some are just better at it than others. You know what I mean? I don't know.
This question may even border on insulting to those of you who consider themselves as engineers. But nevertheless, today we shall be exploring the crude ingenuity of the mechs. Firstly, I shall attempt to cover their technological acumen, before dissecting the vital role which they play within Orky society.
Orky.
Finally, I shall go into the raw details of one of their strangest contraptions which has been encountered within the galaxy, the shock attack gun. To begin, let us attempt to explore the intellect of these mechs. To some degree, all orcs have an instinctual grasp of the technological workings within their machines and tools.
Okay, so that kind of answers what I was talking about. It seems like there was probably some kind of genetic, you know, innate knowledge that was programmed into them from the old ones, so that they just kind of like know how to work certain technologies at a basic level.
And the true reasons towards this ability are often debated by Imperial Magos biologist agents. The leading theory behind this innate skill is that in the ancient days of the galaxy, the masters of the orcs, known as the Brain Boys, imbued their genome with artificial and experimental strands of DNA to provide them with somewhat of an intellectual advantage. These fragments seem to have provided the orcs with a hard-coded understanding of technology, allowing a mech to take apart and rebuild a complex engine even if he has never been taught how to. Now, an important point to mention is that not all orcs possess these fragments. There are thought to be genes which imbue a sense of medical acumen, as are found in the Pain Boys, or genes which give a poignant understanding of raising grots, as would be seen in the runt herders. The next theory, which has been somewhat discredited by senior biologist agents, is that the mechs are not actually proficient engineers at all, and the fact that their equipment can even work as expected is solely due to the combined psychic power of the entire orc species.
I mean, that is an interesting theory. Because, and I know it's somewhat exaggerated, the idea of like, they believe something so that it does happen, but there is something to that, you know, the whole idea of they believe that things that are red are faster, so they paint them red, and they actually do go faster. There is, like, you know, some, I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. There's some truth to that, I guess. So there could just be, yeah, part of their technology just happens to work based on whatever psychic will they're able to put into their technology at some kind of strange level, you know?
There are several inexplicable beliefs within an orc society, which under normal circumstances should never have an impact upon reality. But the orcs have continuously baffled Imperial agents by proving their beliefs to cause some slight but significant changes to our.
It's more of a meme though. But they do have power of belief like this. See, that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, like, there is at least some small truth to that, right? Where, like, their belief does have a factor in some of their technology and some of their, the things that they do. You know, I know it has been kind of exaggerated, made a meme out of, but there is some small truth to that, where they can make certain things happen, you know, based on how strongly they believe. And I guess depending probably on the orc itself and maybe how strong of a psyker the orc might be, you know what I mean? I'm sitting here, you know, watching this and I'm thinking about Warhammer, Total War Warhammer 3, and the fact that, like, I never really played that game as the orcs at all. So I might want to do that at some point in time. Anyway.
World. The prime example of this would be the orc mantra of "Red ones go faster."
Right.
I do not need to explain to you all how preposterous this is, and yet, time and time again, orcs who have painted themselves or their vehicles red do actually appear to move faster.
Yeah.
This concept can be extended towards their equipment as well. When Mechanicus tech priests have recovered any so-called technology from the orcs, upon studying them, they often find their inner workings to be nothing but a box of loose bolts, rusted scraps, and severed, crude circuitry. The tech priests can seldom force these tools to work as intended, since they appear to have never worked at all, so we must ask how they were functioning when in the hands of an orc.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, how, like, I could just see a scene like that, where, like, a tech priest and, like, an orc mech boy are, like, somehow, for whatever reason, working together to try to create something, and, like, the tech priest is trying to do something one way, and the orc boy is, like, you know, they're just, like, going back and forth. Like, I could see, like, almost, like, a 40K, like, buddy cop kind of sitcom show between a tech priest and an orc mech boy, you know, happening, and I feel like that would be hilarious, because it's like, from the tech priest point of view, it's like, A, there probably isn't really a machine spirit for them to, like, connect with, and how does this shit even work? And the orc boy would have no real understanding as to why the humans do things the way they do, and why aren't they painting more things red and shit like that, you know? Like, I don't know. I feel like that would be hilarious. Again, if someone makes that show, just send me the royalty checks.
This brings us back to the psychic theory. It reads that if the orcs believe the mechs to be good at engineering and that they believe in their tools being functional, then the tool will work. This theory would be incredibly difficult to prove, but some Imperial agents will swear that it is the truth.
Well, and again, I feel like it's probably also a situation where it's like, the more orcs that have this same belief, the more impact it has. Again, and that seems to be kind of a theme, like in the 40K universe in general, where, like, on a grander scale, the more people, creatures, or whatever are doing something that is creating some kind of, like, actual emotional effect, it seems to actually have, like, real effects on the world. You know, you look at the Eldars with Slaanesh. The Eldars, for how long, have been spending, you know, time doing all kinds of things to, you know, enhance their or not necessarily enhance, but to, I guess, explore their enhanced senses is what I mean, you know. And then now with how the Imperium's been, how a lot of these miracles are happening more often, and how more people are saying they're getting visited by visions of the Emperor and the Emperor talking to them, etc., etc. So it could be something similar like that, where if enough orcs, you know, are put together, they have a big enough, you know, orc crew together, and they believe in something enough that it will actually work, you know.
And they will die on their hill, claiming that we are continuously underestimating the combined psychic might of the orc beliefs. Now, with the two theories having been laid out, you may choose as to which you ascribe to, but knowing the truth would provide us with no advantages.
Right. Yeah, I mean, that too, because that, you know, has opened up, like, a whole, like, giant psychic portal or whatever. Yeah, exactly, more connection to the warp. So, wasn't that when that occurred? I want to, like, read more about it or whatever, the psychic awakening event or whatever. That's something I haven't really gotten much into, but isn't that what happened around that time when the Eye of Terror ripped open and basically cut the galaxy in half? Isn't that during that time period? Isn't that when, like, a big psychic awakening event happened across the galaxy, and, like, psychers became more powerful? Or at least more psychers started coming around or something like that?
We cannot convince the orcs that their technology does not work, since it is obviously functional to them, and some of their machines clearly show some quite advanced features. which
So that also would be an interesting tactic to use against the orcs. If you could make enough orcs believe something, work against them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. If you could make enough orcs believe that there was some kind of like computer virus or some kind of technophage virus or whatever in their technology that would prevent it from working right, you know, what would that then, you know, affect their technology and keep it from working properly? You know what I mean? And then how, I don't know, that's just an interesting idea. If that's a way to like combat the orcs in some fashion. Somehow use like propaganda and programming to like make the orcs think a certain thing and use that to your advantage. I don't know how you'd go about that, but
level. So there has to be some engineering ability held within the mechs. In any case, they will use their technological prowess throughout their lives, emboldening the tribe with whatever tinkering they choose to do. Now that we understand the root of their abilities, let us explore the actual mechanical know-how of the mechs. They show a clear obsession towards building whatever crude and brutal contraptions they can, and their workshop floors are always littered by half-finished projects of jagged metal and loose cabling. As previously explained, the mechs do have some innate understanding of basic engineering, and oftentimes they will use this to pursue their passions in tinkering, jury rigging, and generally attaching new tools onto whatever frame they have found. No two constructs within an orc camp will ever be the same, since the mechs will always find new spots to weld a fancy missile launcher, a new engine, or a grot-flinging device, regardless of whether or not it makes the vehicle more functional. Similarly, weapons are never safe from the crazed eyes of a mech. They will look upon a gun and ask the important questions of, why are there not more triggers? Why does it not have 3 more barrels? Why does it shoot bullets instead of rockets? And why is it your gun and not mine?
I mean, technically, bolters shoot rockets. I mean, they're rocket-propelled bullets, so I guess at that point in time, what's the difference between a rocket and a bullet, other than, I guess, just the size? Yeah, I don't know.
As such, they will furiously modify their guns into becoming mighty tools of indiscriminate destruction, which often pose just as much of a threat to themselves as it does to the enemy.
I feel like playing orcs on the tabletop would be fun, but also frustrating, because it's the sense of, if you're rolling well, you're gonna do like really well and probably steamroll who you're fighting. If you're rolling really bad, you know, your guys are just gonna end up injuring yourselves and you're not gonna be able to do much. You know, your guns are gonna misfire and you have all kinds of issues like that. So I don't know. It would be fun to play the orcs on the tabletop, but I could also see it being frustrating.
Huge shooters have been spotted with parts of alien weapons having been haphazardly attached to the ends of their barrels. Missile batteries have been soldered onto the frame, and even the iron sights may be replaced with small...
This is a popular story of an orc who traveled back in time to kill himself so he could have 2 copies of his favorite gun. That's funny.
Chairs for grots to sit upon, where they attempt to point out creeping enemies amidst a battlefield. The knowledge and skills of the mechs does not end at simple vehicles or weapons, as the wonders of Orky manufacturing will end only with the aspirations of the mech himself. And if he looks towards the stars, then that is where his talents shall bring him. An orc war could never leave a planet's surface without the huge void ships and barges of the orcs, and it is here that the mechs will shine. Huge cadres and teams of mech boys will put their heads together to figure out a solution for the problem of space travel. Thankfully, the mechs know how smart they are and how simple this problem really is.
It is crazy, you think about it, like how they're able to just create spacecraft that work and that literally don't fall apart. They're able to, you know, I mean, I would assume that, you know, these are made in space, so they don't necessarily have to deal with the, you know, breaking of orbit and gravity and stuff like that, because who knows what would happen to these ships if they could do that. But I don't know, yeah. It's just crazy how like slapped together these things are, but you know, they work, they function.
All you need to travel through space is a big ship with a big engine, which the mechs can easily construct out of the scrap metal of the planet.
I guess technically from a certain point of view, that's not wrong. You know, we have a big enough ship with a big enough engine, you can just travel through space. You know what I mean? I mean, technically we could do that now. We could technically do that now. We could build a big enough ship with a big enough engine and enough nuclear reactors to where, you know, we could make a generational journey to the next closest planet if we wanted to, but no one really wants to do that as a thing, you know what I'm saying?
Now, the mechs are not only proficient in the art of engineering, as they also stand as something of a mad scientist within an Ork camp. They routinely spend their days toying with ideas for new death-spitting contraptions, or by arguing over the best methods for strapping a pilot's seat onto a rocket. Furthermore, they will often be found working away with the Ork doctors.
What the fuck, dude? This fucking
onto a rocket.
This picture,
Furthermore,
man.
They will often be
this picture, they're just like ripping this guy's brain out, like, and then the spine and everything. Like, okay, I mean, you know, I guess so. I don't know. That just looks funny to me. Like, they literally give zero fucks.
Be found working away with the Ork doctors, who are known as pain boys, to manufacture new cybernetic organs which the mad doc will jovially transplant into an unwitting boy who simply thought he was going to have his hair squig trimmed. Mechs also seem to have a potent ability to decipher the workings of other technological tools which they have uncovered. After but a short few hours...
Yeah, that's one of the big disadvantages that the Imperium has, is how difficult, you know, it is for them to allow new technologies to, like, new things that are discovered to be integrated into, you know, Imperium technology. I mean, there's good reason, the whole AI war and stuff like that, and who knows if it's actually something that isn't part of a chaos ploy that's been corrupted, and who knows what that's going to do, you know what I mean? So, but I mean, I'm sure there's probably plenty of Necron technology that they found, or Eldar technology, or technologies from other alien species and races that they found that would be a great benefit, and who knows where those technological paths would lead for the Imperium if they would just, you know, study them and integrate them into what the Imperium is. But that's one of the big advantages that I think the Orks, you know, obviously have, is their willingness. They don't give a fuck, you know, it's something for the study and do, and they'll integrate it in however they can.
They can take any piece of hardware from across the galaxy and somehow retrofit it to meet the needs of the Ork tribe.
Yeah.
Because of this, it is very common for freebooter or Death Skulls tribes to contain huge numbers of mechs who will assess and value whatever loot and scrap has been recovered from a battlefield.
Like, I couldn't imagine them, like, an Ork while taking over a Forge world, and like taking over like Titan technology and stuff like that, and then integrating some of the Knights and the Titans or whatever with their stuff. That would be insane.
Clearly, the skill set of a mech is a highly prized and sought-after thing for the Orks. Most boys will end up spending their teeth within a mech shop, where they will seek out his technical know-how to produce them a new gun, or to just soup up their war bike. For a mech who proves himself to be a true master of engineering, then the gaze of a war boss will inevitably turn to them, whereby he will employ them as his own personal mech. Whilst in this esteemed position, he may be tasked with building the boss a flashy suit of mega armor, or a snapping hydraulic power claw. Alternatively, the boss may have his sights set upon a new war, and so he will order the mechs to begin constructing a vast array of vehicles and weapons with which to carry the boys out into battle.
It's so funny. This is basically like Mad Max, but with orcs. You know what I mean? That's what a lot of these like the art depicts. Is it's just they're on a desert planet, and they're basically doing Mad Max, but it's orcs. Hey, honestly, they could do a 40K movie like that, man. They could do some kind of 40K movie where it doesn't even have to be with the Stardies. It could be some kind of like Imperial Guards or whatever had been taken prisoner somehow on this planet with orcs, and yeah, that's just like on some kind of desert planet, and that's basically just take Mad Max but make it with orcs. You know what I mean? Could easily be done.
With this all being said, the aspirations of a mech may be slightly higher than to simply work for a war boss. As a mech grows meaner and greener, he will inevitably become what is known as a big mech. These experienced orcs will rule over rather impressive workshop complexes, inhabited by hundreds of scurrying Gretchen who carry out his every whim. Some big mechs will even advance in status and power to become a mech boss, who rule over an entire warband in the same way that a conventional war boss would. The tribes controlled by a mech boss obviously become very technologically centric.
Yeah.
And the mechs of these groups are held in far higher regard when compared to a conventional tribe. The orcs will wield highly customized and experimental weapons, cooked up in the deepest corners of a mech shop, purely in the name of discovery and science. These groups tend to contain a huge proportion of cyborgs as well, since the curious mechs can't help but wonder what the nearest boy would look like with a cybernetic limb. When the boys under a mech boss go to war, they're often enveloped by a vast custom force field, which is a crackling, sparking, and inconsistent shield against enemy fire.
That I'm sure is likely to kill them just as it is to protect them.
Some mech bosses may eschew the use of boys entirely, favoring the strength of tin over that of flesh. These mechs will construct huge armies of death dreads and killer cans, forming what is known as a dread mob. These are walking mechanical canisters which contain within them a permanently wired-in and attached pilot who will tend to go a little stir-crazy from being locked inside a metal can for so long. Sometimes the mechs who lead these dread mobs go a little mad themselves. If you were a mech, why would you stop at ruling over 10 dreads and 20 killer cans when you could rule over 100 of each? As such,
or more,
many mechs will simply turn rogue to the ways of the War and will instead seek out to obtain as many resources as possible purely to fulfill their goal in possessing the most deaf dreads and killer cans that the galaxy has ever seen. Now that we understand a little more about the mechs themselves, let us delve into a mech shop and investigate the gubbins and knickknacks which exist within them. These workshops, with their eclectic piles of hazardous wonders, are veritable treasure troves of ingenuity. Amidst the cluttered disarray, exotic components and half-formed machines take shape in every nook and cranny that manages to escape the rampant mess. The walls will be utterly coated with overlapping tool boards, displaying hundreds of gigantic spanners, rusted ratchets, disjointed nail guns,
regular mechanic
smoldering torch cutters, arcing welders, blunted knives, broken hammers, sparking electrical equipment, bent nails, twisted cogs, and even more crude tools for the mech to play with. These have all been tailor-made for the mech's calloused and gnarled hands, and they will be used until something vital snaps or breaks off, at which point the mech will solemnly retrofit the prized tool as yet another component to be added into a new creation. The ceilings will dangle.
Can't say they don't waste shit, you know what I'm saying? They use everything they got.
With chains and joints holding up trucks and war buggies to allow the mech to access their sputtering engines or broken axles. Meanwhile, the floors are slick with black oils and glimmering petrol, causing many poor grots to slip
Plenty
and
of
fall
fire
into
hazards.
some gutter, much to the delight of the ruling mech. Despite the obvious fire hazard of these workshops, there is seldom found to be any kind of fire alarm or sprinkler system. This makes a lot of sense to the mech, however, for why would he waste valuable components on fighting a fire when he could use them to build a new gun instead?
True.
Oftentimes, the mech will be occluded by a field of dense cigar smoke, the exhaust of whatever engine he's working on, strange aerosols of oily mist, and the drifting particles of metallic dust kicked out by the whirring mechanical saw blades as they slide through crude metal plates. The mech himself will be utterly coated in a layer of soot and grime, with his boots being in a far worse state than would be found on even a citizen upon Katakan. For the mech, though, he simply loves this existence. He cares not for the dirt, as it simply adds some flavor and charm to his creations, and he will gleefully work deep into the night, churning out new mechanical creations all the while.
I mean, hey man, you got a purpose, you know what I'm saying? More than what a lot of people can say nowadays. So, you love what you're doing. It ain't a job.
Same, however, cannot be said for his grot companions. Within the workshops, there will exist hundreds of
little
lowly
goblin
grots,
guys,
Gretchen, and snotlings, who have been enslaved by the mech to enact his maniacal wishes. They will choke on the heavy fumes which eat into their feeble lungs. Their weak arms can barely hold up the mech's tools, leading many to be crushed under the weight of various objects around the lab. Many constructs within the mech shop will continuously spin or walk about, almost as if they have some form of free will. And these machinations will simply squash any inattentive grots who did not see the half-formed, deaf dread walking towards them. Some rooms of the mech shop will exist as storage facilities, and these will be utterly rammed with orky tools of war.
What kind of gun is that?
Countless numbers of sluggers and shooters will fill these armories to the point of bursting, leading to many weapons to simply spill out onto the streets for the boys to steal. Other storerooms will be filled with stick bombs and gigantic warheads, which will
Dude looks way too happy to have a rocket strapped to his back.
To smoldering ash, much to the displeasure of the ruling war boss. Many mech shops will be attached to a parcel of land owned by the adherents towards the cult of speed. They will have adapted the landscape into a huge racetrack, which will be used to test out the top speeds and maneuverability of the mech's newest war trucks and bikes. The roaring sound of engines will screech through an orc camp, and the vast occlusive clouds of thick black smog will billow out of both the machine's engines as well as the mech shop itself. In some rare mech shops, we may even find an experimental facility towards building a weapon known as a shock attack gun. This is perhaps the most bizarre and dangerous weapon ever invented by the orcs.
Interesting.
But it stands as a true testament towards the skills of engineering which is possessed by the mechs, for it exists not only as a potent cannon, but also as a small portal into the warp.
The fuck?
It appears as a huge vacuum tube, which connects to a heavy frame of bolted metal, and at its barrel there is a huge spinning contraption of cogs and wheels, which accelerate a strange trio of glowing orbs towards incredible speeds. As an object moves through the funnel, the weapon will produce a small warp portal, which accelerates and transfigures the object towards whatever point the mech has aimed at. Most mechs see it as wasteful to shoot pieces of metal with this tool, as they find themselves to get far better results from using snotlings as their choice of ammunition.
It's pretty crazy that they're able to make something so advanced that it's just, yeah, I have this casual, you know, gun that just opens portals into the warp, you know, it's a thing that I have, it's whatever.
These unfortunate creatures will be exposed to the snatching horrors of the warp.
Yeah.
Who would greedily consume the little green treat if he wasn't being propelled at such high speeds that not even a demon could steal him.
You know, that kind of makes me wonder, has there ever been like a demon orc war boss? You know what I mean? Has there ever been like an orc that's been like possessed and taken over by a demon? I haven't heard any stories about anything like that, but that'd be interesting. Because I mean, you know, there's, you know, Primarch demons and just greater demons. Also with the Eldar too, I haven't seen anything like that. I would assume that there would probably be certain Eldars that have been taken and possessed by demons, etc. But I haven't really heard of anyone like that, so.
As the Snotling emerges on the other side,
Super resistant to chaos.
they have
Interesting.
completely lost their minds and entered into a state of pure psychotic rage, whereby the only thing their puny brains can focus on is the innate urge to survive.
That actually makes sense.
Now,
I mean the orc belief is so strong to like actually get some of their stuff to work, so that it would make sense that their belief in their gods, their faith in their gods, would prevent any kind of chaos issues. Gotcha.
due to the strange nature of the warp, it is possible for the Snotlings to emerge not near.
Yeah, I wonder how that came about too. Like, Ork and Mork, were they like originally old ones? You know what I mean? Were they originally the old ones are basically supposed to be the Slann, I think, right? From Warhammer Fantasy. They're basically supposed to be the same species. So like, Ork and Mork, were they like actual Slann or something like that that helped create them, and so that's like engraved in them, or they just, you know, random things that someone thought up or whatever they believe in?
Near their target, but within them. In these circumstances, the unfortunate victim will suddenly feel a very strange sensation within their body, of a furious, crazed creature gnawing and clawing its way out in a burst of terrified gore. Meks who use these weapons are often closely associated with runt herders, who keep vast chain gangs of snotlings by their side to be used as a constant source of ammunition for the strange gun. In rare circumstances, groups of several big mechs may bring their shock attack guns to bear as a combined battery, and with a horde of snotlings by their side, they will unleash blasts of untold havoc across a battlefield, leading to an incredibly unpredictable level of destruction to their enemies. The shock attack gun is far from perfect,
For real.
and to call it reliable would be a flat-out lie, which even the mechs would acknowledge. Sometimes the gun can simply malfunction and open a gaping portal to the warp, which will suck in the mech, half of his boys, and then rapidly close, leaving just an empty echo of reality in its place. Similarly, the weapon may open the warp portal far from its intended target, or it will shoot the mech in place of his snotling army, resulting in a very confused enemy battle line having to deal with a disgruntled mech who can't understand why he has appeared there without his tools. This shall bring an end to our investigation towards the Ork Meks. These odd boys are a pivotal and vital component of any Ork tribe, and without them, it is doubtful that a Waaagh would ever reach its true level of potential. While many Orks may see a mech as a slightly untrustworthy git who only seeks to scam them out of their treasured teeth, they still acknowledge and give thanks to him, for who else could mount a new shooter onto his fancy truck?
True.
It is quite rare for a boy to ever get the exact item which he requested from a mech, but whatever it is that the mech constructs for him, it is certainly a tool which will aid the boy in his oncoming Waaagh.
All right. Well, there we go. There we go. Another great video by the Scholar's Lore. That was Ork Meks 40k lore. Again, by the Scholar's Lore. As always, links will be down below in the description to the Scholar's Lore channel and to the original video of his here without my commentary and reaction. Please do me a favor, if you like this video, go over there, click the link, give it a like, and check out the rest of the man's channel, see if there's any more content of his that he's created that he likes. And if you do, you know, give the man a sub. Definitely deserves some support. So but yeah, very interesting. Some of the technologies, like the I think probably the most fascinating thing in the video was the last subject he was going over there with the like a warp cannon, basically, where it can just open up warp fields, and they use like the little snotter guys as ammunition to like project them at insane speeds. You know, that's hilarious. But you know, also the idea of the potential malfunctions where it can just open massive warp fields, potentially even sucking, you know, the mech army in there and just ending the war right there. I would assume also the opposite could happen, where it just opens a warp portal and demons start pouring out. Now there's a third party that everyone's got to deal with and fight. Yeah, that's very interesting. They definitely seem like they have a what's the word I'm looking for? I guess like a higher place in Ork society. I guess a place of more prestige. I guess that's the word I'm looking for in Ork society. Or at least, you know, at least if they're a good mech that is, you know, really able to build good contraptions regularly. And like I said, I mean, if one's good enough, you can become the personal mech for a war boss, or even become, you know, a mech boss yourself and have your own, you know, tribes and was, and, you know, lead men into battle kind of a situation. So, but it's just crazy how like much of their technology is kind of innate. You know, their understanding of how things work and how they're able to just scrap things together is just kind of like an innate thing that's like in their genetics, and how a lot of it kind of is based on certain beliefs and potentially psychic abilities. So Orks would be happy if it made demons start to pour out even more crumpin'. Yeah, I'm sure they would. It's more shit to fight, you know. So, but great video. So that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Appreciate you watching. As you can see here, we're doing this reaction live for my YouTube members. We'd love to have you guys come in here and join the discussions if you'd like to. There's a join button down below. You can click that, see what if the any of the YouTube membership benefits that I offer have any interest for you. There's a sub Discord, so you can come and join us in the sub Discord and have some discussions there. You can get early access up to a week to a lot of the videos that I put out there, amongst other things. So check that stuff out if you'd like to, and if you'd like to take your support to the next level. Regardless, I just appreciate you guys hanging out. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your busy day to watch the video. Greatly appreciate it. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys on the next one.